Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. I told you about kind of being on a diet, and I'm kind of working on that pretty hard right now. Boy, I'll tell you what, it is tough. It's tough. But also exercising to make sure that you keep yourself in shape as you grow older. And I don't care if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, 70s, 80s. Your brain. We start to forget things. I read an awful lot during the day. People ask me how long it takes to prepare for the show. It's a 3-hour show. It's about 2 hours per hour of show that you're actually on. So you have about 6 hours of prep going into a show, and sometimes even more. And every now and then I find myself forgetting something, forgetting a word. I'll take a pause and I'll think, I know that word. And then you say all the horrible things. Oh, my gosh, am I getting Alzheimer's? Am I doing this? Well, with us this morning is a guy that's going to help us do a little exercising with our brain. And his name is Mark Underwood. He's a neuroscience researcher. He's an expert on the topic of brain aging, and he teaches ways to improve cognitive function. He's the president and co-founder of Wisconsin-based biotech company Quincy Bioscience. He's also the author of the Brain Health Guide, the newest edition. And he's going to talk to us this morning about 5 great tips to improve our memory and a little bit more about how we can improve our brain and exercise in a bit. And we welcome Mark Underwood to the show. Mark, great to have you on the show. Good morning to you.
Hey, Gary. Pleasure spending some time with you.
I really appreciate it today because, a lot of people, and I say to my wife every now and then, I say, am I losing it a little bit? You forget something else, and you say, geez, maybe I'm not exercising my brain enough, although doing this every day, you get a chance to exercise it an awful lot. You've got some tips for memory fitness out there. We're all worried about taking care of our bodies, and sometimes in the process, we forget our brains.
That's right. The best thing to do for your brain is to get into a program I like to call cross-training your brain. It means that you're exploring different types of activities that keep the brain stimulated, everything from, work things that are required to do to family things that are very healthy for you to do, as well as some fun things. So cross-training your brain, I think, is the new way to make sure that you're staying on top of your game, keeping your brain sharp, staying focused on what you can do to help stimulate your brain to keep it healthy, because we do not want to grow old and lose our memory. That's going to be a painful thing. So we want to keep it young and fresh, and these tips work at any age. You can actually help restore memory by following these tips.
What led you to kind of putting together the new edition of the Brain Health Guide that you just wrote?
I do a lot of community education for people that are concerned about brain health, and obviously as a neuroscience researcher, I do dig into a lot of the more technical aspects of cognition and learning and training, but I found that most practical are the basic tips that people can go home and do today. They don't need to understand necessarily what's going on in a laboratory environment to help develop drugs or products for the future. But going home and saying, hey, my brain doesn't have to be the way it is, or maybe someone I love, their brain can get a little bit better. And so these are real practical things that work very well, and they're better, quite frankly, than any other medications that are out there.
You've done some research out there, too, that's contributed to the field of brain health. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I work in a field where we work with a particular protein that was discovered in jellyfish, and it's sort of an interesting natural approach to helping balance out the brain's chemistry so that it works better in the aging process. Literally, we've shown through clinical trials that by taking this protein on a daily basis, and it's available in a supplement form called Prevagen, you're able to see improvements in cognition. You can measure better memory, you can measure better focus, you can actually measure better decision-making. And so in our clinical trials, we're excited about this because in addition to the diet and lifestyle tips, there are some ways that you can help the brain work better by properly supplementing the brain with the nutritional resources it needs to work better. So my desire in the field is to help people that have aging concerns and memory concerns to find a way to fight them. And I believe that fight needs to start as soon as you start losing your car keys, which I know for probably most of the people that are listening, they're tuning in and staying tuned in because that's them. If you don't address, losing your car keys when you're young, it's going to become a bigger and bigger issue. These memory issues don't just self-resolve. They continue to grow and grow.
How long before something like this would be on the market, or is it on the market now?
Well, actually, our research and the product we make is on the market, and it's available at health food stores and pharmacies. It's not a prescription product. It's a natural supplement that allows you to get the proteins back that helps your brain work better. So it's called Prevagen, and you can pick it up at Walgreens or CVS or Rite Aid, whatever is convenient for you, your local health food store. One of the easier tips and one of the more important tips that is completely free advice is to have people look at their diet And reducing the amount of sugar in your diet is actually a very, very practical way to help the brain work better. Sugar in all of us eventually causes inflammation inside the brain. Now, of course, severe sugar issues can result in diabetes and the like, but there's a lot of us that spend a lot of time fighting the inflammation that raw sugar or white sugar causes inside the brain, which slows down a lot of our cognitive processing. So if you've ever craved sugar, you really need a sort of a lift in energy. Your brain is telling you that you need sugar, but you need to get that from a healthy source. So I recommend fruits for those sources of sugar instead of candy bars or Krispy Kremes or whatever you can think of. You want to be able to provide your brain good amounts of sugar regularly throughout the day, so that you don't crash, so that you don't have those types of issues where you're just desperately seeking something at the gas station to feed your body. And if you do that, you're going to be able to curb a lot of those cravings by satisfying your brain's natural need for sugars, and you're going to be able to lose weight, to be honest, because you're not going to be eating that junk food to tell your brain that it's what it needs. You'll actually be supplying the brain with healthy sources of what it needs, and that's going to keep your brain happy. And trust me, keeping your brain happy is very important, because if you get your brain in an unhappy, imbalanced state, your brain's going to be telling you all kinds of crazy ways to try to solve your problems. And those are often unhealthy, because if your brain is not disciplined, you're going to end up with a lot of extra calories, saturated fats that ultimately are going to hurt your brain.
And I think right now I'm in the midst of a kind of changing a whole lifestyle thing. And I got to tell you, as I'm doing it, like last night, for example, we had chicken I made in the grill for dinner. We had a salad. And I had a little bit of a sweet tooth later on, but I've never eaten a lot of sugar per se. But I went and I had gotten some fruit, and I put the fruit together in a little salad, didn't put any sugar on it, and just ate some of that, and that took care of things. And they tell me, and I reinforced by what you're saying this morning, that kind of sugar is actually good for you, that you go out there and you eat berries, you eat some of the other fruits that are out there. I think I had cantaloupe last night and honeydew melon and some strawberries.
That's right.
And it all was good, and it all kind of took care of any of that craving that I really had.
Yeah, that is a real healthy approach. And you'll find if you can do that regularly and really make that sort of a dietary change or a lifestyle change, is how you described it, you're going to find that's going to lead to a lot better things. You're going to be able to think more clearly. You're going to be able to be more focused. You're not going to get exhausted at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and have that little afternoon slump. Mm-hmm. You'll ultimately see better sleep patterns, and it's really going to change the health of your body. And it takes a little discipline to accomplish that. But ultimately, you're going to get a lot of value out of that. You're going to see that's a well invested time, well invested discipline to help your brain work better. And of course, there's going to be all kinds of other benefits for your health.
We're talking with Mark. Talking with Mark Underwood, who's the author of the Brain Health Guide. I want to ask you 2 questions. How does salt affect the brain? I know how it affects the body sometimes, but are there foods out there that actually will help the brain specifically?
In terms of salt?
No, I'm just saying kind of 2 questions here. First of all, let me just ask you the first question. Is salt good or bad for the brain?
Well, in moderation, salt's absolutely fine.
Okay.
One of the issues with a lot of salty foods is sometimes you get artificial preservatives, things like MSG that are mixed in, and those typically aren't good. Those can it sounds scary, but a lot of those ingredients are what are called excitotoxins, and they overstimulate the brain and actually cause your brain cells to eventually die. Now, I don't mean like with one serving.
Sure.
But accumulating that. And so sometimes if you're getting salty foods, if you're craving salty foods, salt, of course, has its own inherent dangers, but it's usually the other stuff that is conjoined with it that becomes a little bit nasty.
I see people talking about the difference between sea salt and regular salt, and people are saying sea salt is a good thing. Again, moderation?
It's the same thing.
Okay, thanks.
It's just in a little different form, and it's a little sexier marketing. But sodium chloride.
Yeah, this salt sucks, but our salt's better. Yeah, I got it. Hey, you're talking about brain cells. I saw where scientists estimate, this was one of the sendouts I got from you, 85,000 brain cells are lost each day. That's 1 per second, over 31 million brain cells each year. I'm surprised we're not all walking around with, our hands being scraped on the back. But I guess they regenerate pretty well too, right?
Well, they do regenerate technically, but actually not nearly as fast as they go away. And that's one of the issues with aging, because around age 40, we have a lot of hormonal changes, and therefore we stop making certain things that are good for our body. And amongst those things are these little proteins I was talking about before. These proteins protect the brain and help the brain to work properly, letting the messages go back and forth from one brain cell to the next. Well, as you grow older and you can't make those proteins, you need to replace them from something. And that's why we've developed what we've developed in Prevagen. But secondary to that is that in the aging process, you're not able to replenish the cells as quickly as when you're young. So when you're 18 or 19, your brain's in pretty good physical shape. That's why 19-year-olds think they know everything. The mechanics are just working well, and they don't have necessarily the content that they need, but the mechanics are working well. So what we need as we grow older is we need to get the mechanics back, and we need to have the content so that we can, retrieve the wisdom and the information that we've gleaned over the years. And if you do that, you're going to be a real healthy person, real happy with the results. So you want to reduce the amount of things that kill brain cells, and one of those things is alcohol. Alcohol is the exact opposite of what your brain needs to be healthy, and therefore, it makes sense. If you have a little bit too much alcohol, you're going to have fewer memories on that Saturday or Sunday morning, right?
And you'll get louder and sound dumber a lot of times too if you have too much alcohol. So
that's right. So you can see the inverse correlation between alcohol and good memory. So if you want to have a healthier brain, you probably want to have more water in your diet. Keeping your brain properly hydrated is very important too. Some studies show that by keeping your brain hydrated, you can be 10% more efficient with your brain's resources.
Wow. Yeah, I saw something.
I always sip on a glass of water, a bottle of water, and keep your brain hydrated.
That's all I drink now. So, but I once saw a comedian said we're about one head away from drowning. That 90% of your body is water or something like that. So anyway, I want to get to those 5 tips because I don't want people to miss out on those. The first one that you have down there is new hobbies and change your routine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sort of goes back to cross-training your brain. Pick out something that you like or interested in that's going to be different than what you do on a day-to-day basis. If you're an accountant, don't go home and balance your checkbook. It's not going to be that stimulating. But check out the art museum. Find a hobby. Start woodworking. Learn to dance. These things are really stimulating to the brain. New experiences invigorate the brain. They also lift your mood, so they're very helpful all around. The second thing I have on my top 5 is physical exercise. You can actually make your brain grow bigger. You can make those parts of the memory centers of your brain grow bigger by exercising. So 45 minutes a couple times a week, you're going to actually be able to help make those brain cells faster than normal. So that's very healthy because your body's sending all these signals to grow your muscles.
Right.
It's going to grow your brain as well.
And by the way, for you guys out there, daily chores count. So you can't get out of exercising. You do daily chores. You can tell your wife, hey, I'm making my brain better. She may disagree, but by doing daily chores. We're going to go to 3, 4, and 5. We come back here, Mark. Mark Underwood with us here on the Gary Sutton Show. Very quick break. We'll be right back with him on News Radio 910 WSBA. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show. We are with Mark Underwood, who is a neuroscience researcher, also the author of the Brain Health Guide, the new edition of that, and he's with us here on the Gary Sutton Show. We're talking about 5 tips for memory fitness. In the first 2, we talked about new hobbies, change your routine. Second one, physical exercise, daily chores count. How about the third one, Mark?
Well, the third one, similar to the second in terms of physical exercise, would be mental exercise, making sure that you have mental fitness. Working on different projects that are stimulating. Getting a hobby, of course, could be one of those things. Spending time in social situations, which goes into the 4th tip. The time that you spend with a loved one in a social interaction is actually much more important for the brain's health than time with anyone else, because these emotional connections actually make the memory strands stronger inside the brain, and that ultimately turns the brain into a healthier organ that's able to do more. It's able to function at a higher level.
Now, you put behind that engage. I'm interested in something here. One of the things that we talk about a lot is all of the social media we have today, all the stuff with your cell phone, walking around with your head down and so forth. Is that kind of social interaction helpful or harmful to you?
It's sort of neutral. It doesn't have any distinct benefits. I mean, you can have a connection with your grandma via Twitter if you like. Mm-hmm. But traditionally you go over to her house and have dinner. So I think obviously a physical presence or a face-to-face type of communication or relationship is better. But these social media things, they don't really matter unless you're like addicted to some type of social media where you can't think more than 140 characters at a time. I think that might happen to some people, but that's really not the health issue that we need to be concerned about.
I use that each day, by the way. I have my own Twitter account. I use it each day, and I got to tell you, it's hard for me to get stuff into 140 characters. So I know what you're talking about. But go ahead.
That's right. Or you're Instagramming or Snapchatting or whatever. That's what my daughters do. They don't really say a whole lot. Yeah. But they're also not the people that have the memory issues that we're talking about.
No, you're right.
That are our age or older, over 40 type.
So talk with people, engage people, talk about different subjects each day, and that stimulates the brain to have to think, right?
It sure does. It's really good because you're on the spur of the moment. If you become more socially active, your brain will thrive. Conversely, studies have shown that if you become a little bit more introverted, that you're not going to do well mentally. You're going to withdraw. Your memory issues will become bigger problems if you become more socially isolated. So this is probably a best tip for someone who's maybe concerned about an older relative or parent, and they start to see these things happening in mom or dad. You got to encourage them to get out and stay active and stay doing something in the community. That's going to be very helpful for their health and their happiness. So you've got to go out and encourage people to not become wallflowers. You've got to let them get out, encourage them to get out and spend time with them.
I've got a mother who's 86 right now who's playing a musical. She's been playing musicals. When she's at home, she does crossword puzzles. I call her and she'll say, geez, I took a nap today. I felt like I really kind of let myself down. But she's got 20/20 vision, not a joint problem anywhere. She's 86 going on 20. And, she'll practice a whole musical that she's playing. She's a musical director in a particular show right now, and she'll sit around on a Saturday until she memorizes it. So she doesn't have to look. She can look up at the stage. She's playing the whole thing. So she's challenging her mind all the time.
That's right, and you can see that she's healthy because of what she does.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible for people of advanced age to have great minds.
Yep.
So we should be encouraged by that. I think a lot of time we think, well, I'm 60, my husband's become forgetful, there's nothing we can do, he's just going to sort of sit on the couch and rot away. And they think that's what life is. That's just couldn't be further from the truth. The brain is very, very capable of doing all kinds of things throughout our entire lifespan. And that's an important message because I think some people just give up. And they think, well, I don't know. I've been losing my mind for 20 years. It's going to completely go now. So hopefully these tips will help.
And proper diet. We talked about nutrition and supplements. Where can listeners go for more information, Mark, or perhaps to pick up the Brain Health Guide?
We're sending out free copies of the Brain Health Guide, toll-free, 888-814-0814, toll-free, 888-814-0814, and they can call and get a free copy.
888-814 and 0814. Yep. See, I remembered it. There you go. I'm working on it already. Mark, it's been great having you on this morning. I look forward to another time we get a little bit deeper into this. Great stuff this morning. Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care.
You,
Mark Underwood with us here on the Gary Sutton Show. The name of the book is The Brain Health Guide. Lots of really neat ideas in there. And I don't care what age you are, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, doesn't matter. 90 might help you to keep that brain in good shape. Keep it healthy, right?